Good morning, Governor. Brian, Coxie, what happened, Brian? Okay, no harm is going to be done here. Just one has questions, okay? I used to be one of your fairly large fans. I was a big fan back in the day, years ago, a decade ago, something like that. Chris and myself, a good friend of mine here in Australia, we don't see each other as much as we used to, but we used to love your chats. We used to listen to you on the radio, and actually, I don't know if Chris ever got down to see you at one of the places here in Australia. I never did, right? But I'm not sure if he did, but we used to love it. Go on, Brian, give it to us like it is. Tell it like it is. Used to love it. Just used to have a way with words. And then, I don't know, everything changed, the chaos, life, lots of stuff happened, and people change, don't they? They do different stuff, go off on a tangent slightly, and I couldn't notice that your tangent, because you did. Everybody goes off slightly, one way or the other, don't they? I, being a big fan of common sense and stuff, and logic, and it wasn't long before you were kind of bagging that stuff, saying that common sense has no place in science. Common sense has no place in science. Luckily, I didn't get the memo, like I said to Mr. Tyson, and it's just wrong. Just because some of you have convinced a lot of people that common sense is surplus to requirement, doesn't mean it is. Get the gloves on, Brian. Let's go. Come on, Brian, let's go. All joking aside, this is about the speed of light. And I've got some questions that haven't been answered for years. I know why they haven't been answered. It's not really a question for me. I don't need convincing of anything, but I just want to hear what you guys have to say, because it defies both logic and common sense. 299,792 kilometers per second. Let's listen to just a small 60-second clip of you talking about the speed of light.
Travels at 300,000 kilometers per second, 186,000 miles a second. And at that speed, it's taken over 13 billion years to travel from the most distant object in that image to Earth. Now, when you think that the Earth is only just under 5 billion years old, it means that most of the light from most of the galaxies in that image began its journey to Earth before there was an Earth. Because some of the most distant galaxies there, they were over halfway here when the solar system was just a cloud of gas and dust. It hadn't yet coalesced into the sun and planets and moons and solar. Light travels at 300...
Here we are again, just like all of the others. Light travels at 299,792,458 meters per second. Finite light. Massless, invisible packets of massless, invisible photons. But during a solar eclipse, Brian, when we have, ignore this part of the picture, just to here, we have the sun, and every now and again, on Earth, that little brown streak, it's called the sweet spot, we have the moon that crosses between the two of them. And when this happens, this solar eclipse, what is happening is from the sweet spot here on planet Earth, when you're looking up through the moon shadow, through the center of the moon, behind the moon, we have the sun directly behind the moon. So what we have is the sweet spot, shadow, the moon, and then the sun. And these four things are, boom, as straight as an arrow. This cannot happen with finite light that is traveling at 299,792 kilometers per second. It does not work. It does not work, okay? It is a solar eclipse paradox. in the 8 minutes and 20 seconds that it takes for the photons to leave the sun and hit the moon, which will in 1.3 seconds after, the shadow of the moon will reach the sweet spot on planet Earth. Let's do a countdown. 2.08 degrees. That is how far Earth spins anti-clockwise on its axis in the 8 minutes and 20 seconds. This is finite light you're talking about. It has a start and a finish. It's finite light. Now, 8 minutes and 20 seconds before people find themselves in the sweet spot, in their particular sweet spot, planet Earth is going to be facing we're looking down, is going to be facing 2.08 degrees away from the direct line where the sweet spot, the shadow is going to come from. 8 minutes and 20 seconds before people find themselves in that sweet spot, they're going to be facing 2.08 degrees clockwise, because we're going to move into the sweet spot. Let's do the countdown. Earth is facing that way. The bell goes. People know that in 8 minutes and 20 seconds, they're going to be in the sweet spot. The moon, but most of it is Earth turning. I don't know how it works with the flat Earth. I am not saying that we're flat or we're round. I'm talking about the absolute light radiating from the sun. Photons. Planet Earth is facing that way. They get the countdown, the bell, ding, 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 in 8 minutes and 20 seconds, folks. You're going to be in the sweet spot. Everyone's excited. So, planet Earth carries on turning slowly on its axis. Photons are on their way, finite light, towards the moon. Two things happen at the same time. 8 minutes and 20, bang. The shadow of the moon is cast down onto the sweet spot. The people in the sweet spot, loving it. But in that moment, the people in the sweet spot are looking at the moon and seeing the sun directly behind the moon. They are seeing the sun's corona around the moon. So roughly the same size, 400, the distance is 400 times, etc., etc. That's not important, so I don't know why I brought it up. Now, how is it possible that in that moment, people are seeing, they're standing in the shadow of photons that have been travelling for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. They're standing in the moon shadow that is being pushed along by photons that have been travelling for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Why is it that those people are also seeing the sun directly behind the moon, as if it was radiating absolute light? But it cannot be, because that sun launched those photons 8 minutes and 20 seconds earlier. So what exactly is going on? This defies both logic and common sense, and unfortunately, it cannot happen with finite light. It simply cannot happen. It does not matter that you guys say that it can happen with finite light, because it cannot. It doesn't matter that you've convinced X amount of people that it is finite light and there are photons involved. It doesn't matter how many people you convince of this. There are no photons involved. It defies logic and common sense. If it was finite light, when these things were lined up, these things cannot be lined up. It's a paradox. They can never be lined up with finite light, because in the 8 minutes and 20 seconds that it takes for the photons to arrive at the moon, which then casts its shadow, planet Earth spins anti-clockwise by 2.08 degrees. So when it's finally in the sweet spot, how is it possible that it's seeing the photons and the light source that launched the photons 8 minutes and 20 seconds earlier? There is no 8 minutes and 20 seconds earlier. This is all happening at absolute speed. There is no delay. There is no delay. It does not matter what the science says. Everybody has this cosmic event. It's not a private event. That's the beauty of this thing. It's public. It doesn't matter that people have been told that science doesn't care about their common sense. Common sense doesn't really give a monkey's what science has said about it. This is not common sense. This is basic common sense. You have a light source, a very big and a very bright, powerful one, and something is getting in between that light source and people's eyes. There is no delay. It does not matter how many teddies you throw in a corner. It does not matter what Mr. Tyson says. It cannot happen with finite light because the four things cannot line up. It's really that straightforward. So my question to you, Brian, why is the sun directly behind the moon during a solar eclipse? Sounds like a silly question, but it's not. It should not be there if it took 8 minutes and 20 seconds for these photons that there is never any evidence for to reach. Why are people standing in 8 minute and 20 second old photons at the same time they're seeing the sun in real time? How is it possible? People are seeing the light source that is radiating the photons at the same time as being stood in them or in the shadow that they're creating with the moon. Why is there no gap? And the last one, where exactly is the light delay of 8 minutes and 20 seconds? There is no light delay. Now, phone a friend. Get together and see what you come up with. I would take all of you on together. My common sense versus your science. I've said it before, right? I'm not getting any answers from anybody. That's a fairly good sign of what's happening in the background. My posts are getting the brakes put on them. That's another good sign. The whole system's rigged. And it is something that is a free-for-all. We can all see it. But still managed to talk people into believing that there is an 8 minute and 20 second light delay. I don't know what to say. But there is no light delay. The question's there. I'm not expecting any answers. I haven't had any for years, right? Between 2 to 3 years. Yourself, Mr. Tyson, Brian Greene, don't even know that I'm going to bother because I should do though. And Simon Dan. Simon Dan got back to me. His explanation was very wishy-washy, but he got back to me. He's the only person, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully, Simon Dan. It was a case of, and so yes, we would expect a delay of 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the sun, for the light to reach us. That was kind of where it ended. There weren't any specifics because nobody can do the specifics for this one. Not logically, not running parallel with common sense. It's all illogical stuff. You should hear some of the explanations that I've had from people. And you know what the funny thing is? Everybody's got a different version. It's not like everybody's said like this, and then the photon does this, and then it does a hop, skip, and a jump. Everybody's got these different versions of what is going on. It's pure chaos. Nobody understands the science. They just don't. They obviously don't, because if they did, they would understand that it cannot work with finite light. It's a fact. Doesn't Mr. Tyson always say, listen, the sun turned off, we wouldn't know for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. How does that work? Sweet spot moment. Let's say it turned off in the sweet spot moment. People are annoyed about that, having waited for so long, but they're looking at the moon, they're in the shadow, and they are seeing the sun's corona around the moon. They're looking at the sun. If the moon wasn't there, it's like we're looking at the sun. It isn't complicated. It's basic stuff. Now, if the sun turned off in that sweet spot moment, we're looking at it, aren't we, from the sweet spot? So why would it take 8 minutes and 20 seconds before anybody knew? We can see it right there. It's radiating absolute light towards planet Earth. It's radiating absolute light in every direction. But it just so happens that the moon, on this occasion, got in between the absolute light and us. And it blocked the light source, not photons that have been travelling for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. It does not work. Now, the things that can happen from here, or things that you guys can say, is one, loads of people over the last 2 centuries have worked it out. Loads of them, over and over. It's a done deal, starting with Romer. But Romer, he reckoned that as we moved further away from Jupiter and Io in our orbit around the sun, so Jupiter, he took a reading at the closest, and then as Earth moved around the other side of the sun, just before it got right behind the sun, so he could see Jupiter one way or the other, he took another reading, and lo and behold, Io came out, what was it, 1,000 seconds later, when we were the other side of the sun, furthest away from Jupiter. But how did that happen? It's right here. Where is the delay? What is it that people are going to say now? Oh no, it must be something else. Or, as long as I'm wrong, people will say anything, but I'm not wrong. I'm being objective. This is horseradish. Now, what is it about the sweet spot, the shadow, the moon, and the sun? 4 things. One thing is happening. You have a magnificent light source, and the moon is getting in between that light source and planet Earth, and it's blocking the absolute light. There are no photons involved anywhere. Cannot be. So, like I was saying, things that you guys can say. Loads of people have worked it out over the years, including Romer. No light delay. There's no light delay here. Why would there have been a light delay in 1776? There is no light delay. It's absolute light. Romer would have seen exactly the same picture anywhere around the sun, whether we were closest or furthest from Jupiter and Io. It's a fact. People could do it now, for crying out loud. I've had my telescope out. Nobody is working out accurate times for those solar eclipses at night time with no timekeeping devices. Let's cast our minds back to 1776. Guys, it did not happen. Nobody spun any mirrors to work out the speed of light. So you cannot say that, oh, Fitzo did this, and Bradley did that, and Wheatstone did the other, and then we've got the Michael, Mitchelson and Morley. All of this stuff is horseradish. None of it passes the pub test. The fact is, it doesn't really matter about that stuff, because right now, every time we see a solar eclipse, Brian, we see the same thing. There is no light delay. And don't try to Jedi mind trick on me. It doesn't matter what you say or how many times you say it. I see what is, not what is expected of me to see. Somehow, other people have been bamboozled into thinking there are photons involved in this picture, but there are not. So, and the other thing that people can say, you guys can say, is What about LiDAR? What about GPS? What about this? What about the other? All of that stuff, it coincides with 299792. But does it? You can't even get an eclipse right. They cannot even get the biggest cosmic event that we see, all of us on this planet, at some time or other. They cannot get that right. They cannot work out that the sun is radiating absolute light. Science can't work it out. This is just basic common sense. You cannot take away people's common sense. You can tell them that science doesn't care about their common sense, but this is not about science. This is about basic common sense, isn't it? So again, all of you up on a stage anywhere you want. My common sense versus your science. I'm being dead serious. This is blown out of the water before it even starts. It just is. There is no light delay. It cannot happen with finite light. And if it can, please drop a proper answer to these questions. Not one of these answers that starts off a little bit technical and then just generalizes everything and then ends up with us being all of the same stardust. That's not how it works. It won't wash all these little one-liners about the universe does not have to make sense to you, and science doesn't care about your common sense, and it doesn't matter about your feelings. Science carries on being science. It doesn't matter about your feelings either, because a solar eclipse cannot play out the way it does with finite light. You cannot have relativity, light years, and the age of the universe being worked out with light traveling at 299,792 kilometers per second. That cannot coexist in the same universe where solar eclipses play out like the ones that we have here, because here it's absolute light. Now, I'm not sure, of course you will do the whole, well, Mr. Tyson will get a bit loud and slammy Dory, won't he? And he will try and get the last word, but it doesn't matter. He can have the last word. That's not going to change anything, right? And if anybody else thinks they have a logical explanation for how a solar eclipse can work with finite light, I'd love to hear it. But there isn't one, because it isn't possible. So the four things cannot line up. It's common sense, isn't it? If planet Earth is turning on anti-clockwise on its axis, 2.08 degrees, 8 minutes and 20 seconds is a long time. The sun has a diameter of 1,390,000 kilometers from there to there. If we divide that 1,390,000 kilometers by the speed of light, we get the number 4.6. Just this alone, right? It's taking the sun 4.6 seconds to radiate its light the distance of its own diameter. I mean, this isn't even Twilight Zone stuff, right? 1, 2, 4.6 seconds. 4.6 seconds for a star to I mean, this is the common sense bit again, right? Now, there are 108 sun diameters in between the sun and planet Earth. 150 million kilometers divided by 1,390,000 kilometers. It's 107.9. Call it 108. There are 108 suns in between planet Earth and the sun. 108 suns. Just 108 suns. The reason it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the light to travel from the sun to planet Earth is because it is taking the sun 4.6 seconds to radiate its light each of those 108 sun diameters. It's beyond ridiculous. If you really think about this using logic and common sense, it's ridiculous. It's an insult to people's intelligence. It just is. It's a star. Did you know that UY Scuti, 4.6 seconds. UY Scuti, Brian, I'm sure you're well aware, it's allegedly one of the biggest stars discovered. The approximate diameter of 2.377 billion kilometers. It has a diameter of 2.377 billion kilometers. If you divide that by 299,792, you will get 2 hours and 12 minutes. Obviously, 2.377 billion divided by 299,000, it will give you the seconds. It's 7,900 or something. And you just divide it by 60 and you get the minutes. It's like 132 minutes it comes out to. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes. It takes UY Scuti at the speed of light 2 hours and 12 minutes to radiate its light the distance of its own diameter. One of the biggest stars, 2 hours and 12 minutes. I mean, seriously? So those people going, yeah, that's perfect, sounds about right. No, it doesn't. It's ridiculous. It's an insult to people's intelligence once again. So that's kind of it, really. I just repeat this over and over and over because it's so stupid. It's just so ridiculous. And then, of course, relativity, light years, the age of the universe. We're being told expansion of the universe, right? Everything worked out with 299,792,458 meters per second. But there is no delay. It's absolute light. So there is no such thing as a light year, because if you are seeing, like we see the stars in the night sky, if you're seeing them exactly as they are and exactly where they are, with no delay. It's basic common sense. They're radiating absolute light. There are no photons involved. So every time you see a light source, it doesn't matter where it is, you are seeing it where it is. If a light source does not reach you from the onset, it won't ever reach you. If you're out of range of a light source, I've done this 1,000 times. If you're out of range of a light source, where is the lamp? When it first switches on, I don't see it. I will never see it. Light will not travel after the event. Bang, absolute light. This 5Ks, one that's per meter in diameter, maybe 50 Ks at absolute speed. Boom! They will travel at the same speed, but the bigger and more powerful the light source, the further it will go at absolute speed. It's a slam dunk. It's common sense. It's obvious because of what we see on the solar eclipse. Doesn't matter which colour you try and paint this stuff. Light, is it a measurable quantity? I don't think it is. Light being filmed travelling through a bottle? No. Do it live. Do it with one of the photons coming from the sun, please. Some of us still have our common sense. We can see things for what they are. And this is a joke. So, no light years. Everything that you see up there is there. It doesn't take X amount of years for a light source to finally appear in the sky. You either see it or you don't. It's easy. But the waters have been muddied, well and truly, haven't they? It works well to muddy the waters and tell people that science doesn't care about their common sense. The age of the universe. Got no idea. The space telescopes. But then again, we've got the James Webb Space Telescope that's lounging around at Lagrange Point 2 that was discovered in 17 what? By somebody, nothing. No power, no nothing. I just so happened to discover and work out the three-body solution. Just keeps on going, doesn't it? Everything comes back to this. And that solar eclipse, you guys are getting one this year, I think, aren't you? Again? Find the light delay. To get somebody to say to you that there is a light delay. That when you're looking up at the sun that's directly behind the moon, that it's not really there. It's a common sense issue. Brian. A logical answer. A logical one. Or you can do what you guys always do, and between yourselves just say, common sense, they're talking rubbish. They don't know what they're talking about. Some of us do. Some of us do. My science, I mean my common sense versus your science. Anytime. Anytime. See, I don't fall for the absurdities. Just use logic and common sense. Science. This isn't about science. It's about logic and common sense. All right, look. Didn't mean to be any attitude, but it gets extremely tiring. And mate, you've gone a la Americana. It's all right. Some of us will still be here fighting the good fight. All right, what have we got? 32 minutes. Go. We did go a little bit over, didn't we? All right. Good talking to you, Brian. I'd love to hear your answer. Later, peeps.